Hi, welcome back to this video. I am gonna wrap up this thing. And so what I did was I did one of those cooking show situations, right, where I went away and worked more on this, and I came up with the line drawings for all these individual characters. Think they're kind of cute. But you could see how each one of these characters that I did is based on one of the basic shapes that we see on that we rendered earlier on. So I'm just gonna try and do this as fast as possible, probably with fewer stops. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I will try to reply to you guys with some answers as well. Okay, so let's just start painting. Okay, so right now I'm just gonna paint here with the brush tool right here. B is the letter B for brush, is the hotkey for it, and these are the bracket keys that make me enlarge or shrink it. And if I hold down on Alt, I can get the eyedrop. I can switch that brush into an eyedropper. So that's how I mainly work super fast. So if I were to, oh shoot, I got the wrong brush on. Getting the right kind of brush will help. I'm just gonna use like a normal, regular brush here, and gonna erase away what I did just now. All right, so let's do this again. Let's try this again. Okay, I'm gonna. Sorry, I've got. In order for me to get this webcam on, I've got this arrangement kind of funky, but okay. Better access to hotkeys now. So I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna think about that arm as a cube as well. So just gonna take the values that I put on the, and this is on a new layer on top of my box layer because I don't want to lose my box layer. Because if you start painting right on top of it and then the same layer, then now you're losing all this information that you originally did. So I'm just gonna quickly, so this is the front of the arm, so I'm just gonna color pick the front of the box, right? This is the top of the box, so I'm just gonna pick there, and until it kind of, at some point, it kind of needs to blend into one another as well. So it's a little tricky, because you want it to be an exact science, but at some point there's just kind of like, well, there's shapes in between the boxes, right? And I get that. It's just you want to start off as simple as possible, and then you add on your details afterwards. Then you really blend it afterwards. You know, for example, I get that the blend on the arm is probably gonna get a little softer and less like a literal box, but I want at this stage to just block it in and be as close to that as possible. There we go. There's the box there. Side of the head is also a box, right? Oh, what did I make this guy? He's kind of a zombie, right? It's kind of a zombie. I decided to go away from just straight up you know, criminal masterminds and things like that, and just kind of have fun with it. And you guys should have fun with it. That's a big part of this assignment. Is I'm trying to make it a bit more fun than your average still life, right? And I hope you guys can see that, and I hope you guys will enjoy doing it. I know it's a lot of work though. It's actually more work than I initially thought it was going to be as well. See, I got the side of the nose right there. Oh, what do you do about the inside of the mouth? Well, I'll just take the darkest value I have here, which is this shadow side, and I'm just gonna make the inside of the mouth in shadow for now. You know? Something like that. I'll come back for the other values later. But then, so this is probably mostly going to be the front of the box, except when we get to, yeah, the underside. So you think of the individual fingers as little train cars, like little boxes. Same thing with this leg. And sometimes it might just be easier to fill in everything with, like, you know, the medium gray value, and then you paint over it with the shadow value. That way you're not having to make up for the gaps between the two sections. You just paint the second section over the other one, like this. See, now I don't have any gaps between my medium value, which I had already painted. So a little bit on the side here, a little bit over here. I'm imagining this leg as a box, all right? And then from there, there's going to be little other bits like cast shadows, etc. But let's just do the block-ins for everybody first. That I find that that's a good time saver overall. So this is box. I'm gonna label them box zombie. Zom. Sorry, I'm typing with one hand and not doing a good job of it. There we go. Box zombie. And then this guy was Mr. Ball. And this guy is, I don't know, he's the tube guy, but he's like an alien looking dude. I don't know. Alien. Kind of have him, it's kind of weird because I have him smoking a cigar, which is also a cylinder, and he himself is a cylinder. I don't know, I thought that was kind of funny, but again, filling this in as if it was a tube. And once you get around to the other side, you might not actually be able to get highlights anymore because it's like around the bin, you know. But on the light side, you may be able to get little shadow sides like that in there. You'll have to observe this, like in real life. Take a can or something like that, and take a look at, you know, shine a light on it. Put a can next to a lamp, and you'll be able to see where the core shadow is, right? You'll be able to see where the highlight is. You'll be able to see. And these are the basic tools of painting. These are the things that make things look three-dimensional. And it's the stuff that, it's almost like I'm giving you the secret to how to make things look realistic, right? So please follow this stuff, because it's going to factor in on everything going forward as well. Okay. I see. I got tempted and I started getting into details again. Alright. I'm not super accurate. And then I've got this little cone man. He's kind of like, I don't know, he's kind of scared and nervous. So I like him. Cone. And then make a new layer. And I'm just gonna paint in. Yeah, the closer you make your designs to the original shapes, the easier the assignment will be for you, because then you're sticking with simple shapes, right? And I'm not looking for, a masterpiece. I'm just looking for and to see if you have an understanding of how basic, simple shapes work when you shine a light on them, right? And so I'm putting a little shadow here. Most of them is going to be, like that. And I'll do the blends afterwards, but basically there's a cylinder. Oh yeah, so the cone has cylinders for legs and cylinders for arms, right? So what are the eyes? The eyes will be spheres, right? So there may be a little bit, that's a little too much. Probably a little bit of a grayish shadow there. Look, immediately makes it look three-dimensional. And the last one, this pyramid guy, he's just kind of like, what's he doing here? He's the most suspicious one. He's like the Illuminati. Illuminati. And I'm just gonna paint in little tentacles, and then I'll paint little highlights for the tentacles. He's another alien, I guess. Yeah, that might be like the better way to go about this assignment. Think of them all as aliens or creatures or something, because you're not going to get a perfect human to look like a cube or it's always going to be stylized in some way, right? All right, so now that I've got this, right, I can go in and get my blends, right? So how do I blend? Well, I'm just gonna pick a new layer over the top, and instead of a hard brush, I'm gonna come back with the airbrush, which is a soft brush, okay? And you just kind of pick the color holding down Alt, and you just kind of pick the color and you from one end, and then you pick the color from the other end. And the smaller you make your brush, the sharper the turn of the shape is going to appear. If I use a small brush, it'll look like it curves really rapidly. If I use a larger brush, it'll look like it curves. So let me show you. Right now, I've got a very soft blend, but if I were to get a smaller brush, see that curve becomes a little bit more, a little bit harder, right? Now I'm gonna do the shadows, the cast shadows, that is. And usually for cast shadows, you want a harder edge on that. Same thing down here. Just like a little cast shadow. You want a harder edge. And I'm achieving the harder edge by just painting it in with a smaller brush, even though it's a airbrush, because shrinking it down, it just kind of appears to be a harder brush. I'll paint it a little. It's like his kneecap is a little cube on top of a cube leg, right? Just kind of doing that. Well, again, shadow cast. Let's do this again for this leg. Oh, I don't know what I just did there. I just closed it by clicking on the X. I don't know. Sometimes with Photoshop, they'll bring about new features, and sometimes, they think it's helpful, but for old folks like me, I'm so used to the way I work, I don't really need it. Back in my day, yeah. So, same thing down here. I'm just gonna paint in little. I'm thinking about the eyes as like little, like a little, I don't know, like a little round thing in between. And just soften this a little bit so that he doesn't look like a complete, like a sharp edge cube, but more like a organic creature, right? And definitely, there's definitely going to be a cast shadow down here, right? And to some extent, the cast shadow might also come across here. Now, in order for you to have an understanding as to what this shape should look like, you need to have an understanding of perspective as well. But you can eyeball it as well. It doesn't have to be completely 100% accurate right now. But yeah, you can also, the other cheat, of course, is to do it in real life. Put a cube on the edge of a table or something, and then you can see how it wraps around that form, right? Cool. Got that guy in. Maybe put a little highlight, want a little bit of a highlight on that too, on the eyes. I get too detailed. This is the curse of artists, is you never feel like it's done. It just feels like you have to abandon it at some point. That's a saying that's pretty common in the art community as well. That great art is not finished, only abandoned. Let me blend some of this stuff in better as well. Yep. And actually, my cube stuff actually helped me a little bit with my craftsmanship. I think you would actually see the shoulder over here. Not like how I indicated it, where the shoulder slumps down there. So, that's funny. Just gonna correct that real quick. Yeah, the shoulder would actually be on the other side like that. Cool. So there's that. Let's do the little alien now. This guy. Just gonna make a new layer over here, and this will just be my blend layer with my soft brush. On a smaller cylinder, the turn would be sharper than on a larger cylinder, so you may want a smaller brush for these arms than you do for the body. But you just paint one side and paint the other. I mean, when you paint that one side, don't paint it so in that you lose the opposite side, though, right? So, and once you kind of soften this, it feels more like a cylinder. One key thing and one temptation that a lot of artists have is then they just soften everything. And you don't want to soften everything. You want a nice combination of soft edges versus hard edges. And where do you have the hard edges? You have the hard edges like in the cast shadow areas, right? When something's leaving a cast shadow, that's a good opportunity for a hard edge. Like for example, this arm casting the shadow on that body. Perhaps this is casting a shadow down there like that. See? And perhaps right here as well. So you do the soft edges, you come back with the hard edges, and it actually looks a little better. Okay. And there may be little subtle things like little shadows here. Right. All right. Let's do the cone guy. And of course, as we learned from doing the arms of that cylindrical guy, this is also a cylinder. And a color pick with the Alt button. After a while, it becomes instinct, which is great because then you don't even have to think about it. You just kind of, your fingers are just hitting the Alt. I don't know. It's kind of like when you learn a musical instrument, or when you're driving, when you learn to drive, or even learn to ride a bicycle. Just learning anything that requires a little bit of locomotion and muscle memory. That's what happens when you kind of start getting good with Photoshop. Is this cylinder's a little bigger? I want a slightly larger turn like that. They're just fun little. If you leave the highlights sharp like that, they kind of feel almost like plastic, or it's like very shiny and reflective, almost metallic even. I'm gonna round the bottom of him to make it look like it's just kind of like a fat. Make it, a good parallel for this guy is Grimace. I don't know if you guys grew up with Grimace from McDonald's, but he's the big purple guy. This guy's shape reminds me of Grimace. Give it a little highlight on there, just a little bit. A little highlight. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, just a little bit. Alright. Oh, messed up here. I don't know what this is. Erase that. This is a good thing too about doing this blend on a separate layer. If you mess up, you just erase it and you're not affecting the stuff underneath. Mm-hmm. Illuminati guy. Well, I guess now we know who was behind the crime. It's the Illuminati guy. He was in charge the whole time. I'm gonna do a little bit of a fake, I think, with it's like a color change. I kind of wanted it to look like this cone, or I mean this pyramid was like a hood. Yeah, like a hood with an eyeball in it. And so I want to make the eyeball stand out a little bit more. So I want to make like what's underneath the hood a little darker, but still make it feel like it's a hood. So you're gonna have to put a little shadow under that, you know, a little highlight here. And the eye is actually a lot more of a sphere now. So just gonna put a little bit of this, and may want to even do a brighter highlight too, like a pin. That makes it look kind of wet, you know. And then you got this eyeball part. I could teach you guys about eyeballs too. This, I believe it's called the iris. The iris is actually a cave. It caves in, and then there's a lens on top of it. But what you actually see when the light hits it is sort of the cave aspects of it. So, what does that mean? That means the highlight turns out to be on the bottom instead of the top. It's really weird, but yeah. Let me draw it for you so that you understand what I'm talking about. So if this is a human eyeball and it's looking that way, well, where the iris is actually caving in, okay, like that. And then there's a lens called your cornea, but you can see through this thing, okay, on top. And so if light is bouncing down on this from the top, well, you'll get a nice highlight somewhere up here, but then you'll also get a highlight in the cave, sort of down here, you see. So it's weird. Sometimes too you get a little highlight over here on the cornea. So that's why sometimes you'll see in anime they'll do a little thing like that, but it actually starts getting a little lighter down here because it's a little cave like that. So. Let me get rid of my diagram so you guys can see what's going on. Alright. So there's our lineup. Oh shoot, I gotta give them little shadows. So let's do that. Make a layer on the very bottom. And the cast shadows on the ground is super important because otherwise they don't look like they're standing on anything. They're just in, you know, a white piece of paper or something. Or in this case, a gray piece of paper, but when you do character designs, you definitely want to indicate what the ground plane is, where the cast shadow is. And in our case, I guess technically the cast shadows would go a little further out that way for each character. But see, that guy that's floating, this is what makes it look like he's floating, right? So, there you go. And then to really, I don't know, if you want to, you can actually add color to this whole thing as well. Might be kind of fun. You could make a new layer, set it on overlay, and just pick some colors. I don't know. If I was gonna make this guy's tux a little bit blue, I can just paint that in. is kind of a bluish color. You're not going to get the exact color when you set it on overlay, but it's going to be the color that you pick is going to be affected by whatever's underneath it, which is good, because, but it's just not an accurate science, So sometimes what I'll do is I'll pick a color and then I'll tweak it afterwards if I don't like it. Oh, come on, B brackets. I'm trying to make this look like hospital scrubs. What I'm noticing too is the hospital scrub should be darker. Yeah, definitely. Like his skin could be pale, very zombie-ish, very like light blue. But the scrubs themselves need to get darker. This is where that stuff like really comes into play. So what do? You create a new layer here. You set it on multiply, which darkens whatever is behind it. I'm just gonna pick a gray color to start with. You don't want to pick black because then nothing gets darker than black and you won't be able to see anything. But if you pick a light gray color, it'll just darken it a little bit. Like for example, if that light gray is about 20% gray, it'll just get 20% darker. Okay? And that's actually a good way to kind of slowly walk your way into the value that you want. And if you don't like it, the great part is I can always darken it more. I can darken it more using hue saturation. Better. Alright, I'm gonna pick like a light bluish, like a sickly, zombie. I'm a zombie. Reminds me of there's a character in Nightmare Before Christmas, and he has a butcher knife in his head, and I think he's like a undead zombie guy. I think he has overalls. Like that guy. He's the one that says, Bunny, when he saw the Easter rabbit. There's always more to do. For example, here's a little fact for you. When the color gets around the light to the shadow part, like where it's getting close to the core shadow, the color will start getting more saturated right around that area. So that's something to keep in mind. You might want to. It also, what's great about that is it actually helps turn the form as well. So I think this guy having some hints of red on him would be good too, like the eyes. Like around here, in the mouth, a little. I don't know, it's still kind of creepy. Something like that. The obvious color for this Alien would be green. We'll see if I like this green, but... Oh, darn. I did not address painting in that cigar whatsoever. Darn it. Guess I'll have to get around to that again. And then... I'll show you guys what you can do if you don't like the colors as well. You could always, but you have to be consistent. You can't change things halfway through it. You have to like finish it, even if it's the color you don't like. You gotta finish that color, and then you'll have to pick a different thing after that. But so, yeah, for example, I can go to this lasso tool, select around this fella, and then hit Control U, and you could just, on this slider, I can like change, yeah, see on the fly I can change the colors. I actually kind of like this. Huh. Never thought to do that. This is the kind of neat part too about digital painting. Sometimes you can experiment, and sometimes you'll be able to find stuff that you didn't even think about. Let's see, Alien. I gotta paint in his cigar. You like a darker value though. And then this butt. Something like that. So now when I go to color his, I could pick like a brown cigar color. Like that. Put that around him. And I don't know, maybe it's glowing. Not sure. Here's the other cool part is, let's say if I just want to change up the color of his pants, then around the lasso, I'm just gonna lasso the pants. And then hit Control U, and you could just change it independent. Something like that. You can even make it darker or lighter. See that? It's kind of cool. And yep, there you go. Oh shoot. His eye should probably be a different color, shouldn't it? Let's try this. Now it's gonna pick that blue. Alright. The little cone dude. I don't know. He reminds me so much of Grimace. I'm just gonna start off making him purple, and then we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I didn't give him pants. He's a little bit like Porky Pig or one of those old Looney Tunes cartoons. Just gave him a coat and a tie. Guess he could have pants, but these are just cartoons, creatures. Let's see. I'm just gonna select it, hit Control U, and just desaturate it a little bit. Oh, a little bit of a yellow color would be fine, actually. Cool. And that will allow me to make the coat a little different color. Undo. Alright. Control U. Yeah, a little blue coat. It's fine. What color should the tie be? Let's make the, yeah, like that. That'd be fine. And then I think well, he's got a collar, but does he have a shirt? That's the question. Sure, why not? Maybe he does have a... We don't know what these aliens wear in their fashion. Perhaps it's like a weird shorts. These shorts with the shirt. Hide. Control H is hide, and then Control U brings this up. Oh, that's kind of cute. That's kind of... I kind of like this. And then of course his shoes. What color are the shoes? Maybe like that. And then I've got the Illuminati looking dude. I'm just gonna start off blue and then figure something else out from there. This is fun. I am on your money. I'm not being too careful with staying between the lines on this particular assignment, but if I was going to be doing this professionally and not like as a sketch, I would definitely try to do some cleanup work on this afterwards. Control U. Ooh. The red is really striking. It's really creepy, actually. Let's try the eye as a different color. Yellow. And then hide. Could be whatever color we want. Ooh, the purple's kind of nice. Makes it different enough from the red, I think. know, maybe the tentacles should match what's inside, like he's, you know, like the tentacles are him, right? So, well, I don't know, him, her, whatever a tentacle pyramid guy would be. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And then what I sometimes do is once I've got all these local colors down. Ooh, I just noticed this guy's eyes should be slightly different as well. Let's try this. Let's go darker. Ooh, like he's nervous. Oh, I never gave the Monopoly guy a skin color. Oh, that's here. There we go. Now that was too bright. I can already tell. Let's go darker. A little better. Something like this. His hair and his mustache would be slightly different. Probably more like this dude's. Something like that, and I don't know. What about the eyes? There's a little bit of a difference. Just a wee tad. Just paint in the white part of the tux. There we go. Cool. Before we go, just gonna do a last minute adjustment to whoever this is, just to see if there's any other options. That's pretty good, actually. Something like that. Well, then you got red, red, red. Fine. That's cool. They're just. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like whenever they have an alien, they just pick a alien color. Okay. Oh, what I was gonna get at was, sometimes I'll just put in yet another color to kind of tie all these colors together, because right now everybody's based on what's called the local color, which is like what their color looks like under white light. But if you want your image to feel cohesive, like they don't look like they're all in the same room together, being affected by the same light currently. And so what you want to do is you want to pick a unifying color. So what you do is you go to this gradient tool right here, and you want to make sure that the backgrounds of the gradient is it goes into transparency, which is this. Okay, it goes from whatever color you have in your foreground into transparency. And you set this on 20% opacity. You make this new layer, and you put the new layer on multiply, and you just drag, and you can see how it's turning that background into more of this tan color. And you can change it. Control U, right? You can alter it, right? Ooh, the blue palette's not bad. Desaturate, hot, really saturate it. depends on what you want. Something like that. So this is before, this is after. Now they're all being affected kind of by a blue tint, which is fine, which is good. Cool. At the end, what you should also do, what every artist should do, is you should sign your piece. And something about the signature I want you to know is make a signature that is legible. And then you want to put a little date on it, so 01/2021. Cool. Something like that. You don't want your signature too large or too distracting, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll gray it down in the opacity so that it's not overwhelming these guys. And oh, ha! I made all that. Yeah, bring it back. Bring it back. Yeah, I made all this kind of stuff. So cool. How about that? Now we've got our usual suspects lineup. Oh, here's another trick too. See, it never ends. The last trick here is a multiply layer, and what I'll do with the gradient is I'll burn in the edges. This happens a lot on photographs, as you'll notice on like a lot of Instagram type stuff. Like it gets close to the edge, it gets a little darker around the corners. That's burning the corners, right? And I'll darken the bottom just so that it feels like now my focus is coming in, right? Into the image. Like don't pay attention to their feet. Pay attention to, the characters at hand, right? Cool. All right. There you go. That's the first assignment. Have fun.